Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we've got a super exciting show, a wonderful fireside chat, a bonfire of fun and exciting topics today. We are getting intimate with one of the best and one of the brightest in the space. We've had him here on multiple episodes of VCTV in the past as a guest, sharing his wide, vast skill set and knowledge around many different industries. But today, we're going to dive specifically deep on manufacturing, supply chain, and logistics, and everything that's happening in between that connects these three areas together. Generally, when people talk about these industries, they talk about them very separately, or just how they connect, but less about the technologies that are powering them today and how that technology actually has them interconnected beyond what we see on the surface today. And so with that, before we get started, again, this is a double episode of VCTV, a lot to talk about today. We're going to kick it off here in just a second, but a big shout out to you, our audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, make sure you click subscribe and give us a thumbs up. But if you'd like to be on a show like today, as an investor like Luis we're about to talk to, or anyone else, talk about a subject that means a lot to you, that you know what's happening, you want to share about, whether it's technology, industry, or region around the world, do reach out. We'd love to find the right spot for you. Entrepreneurs, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it 3 times, I'm going to say it again. It's a sprint to the end of the year. This is the time you're fundraising. This is the time you got new products you're releasing. This is the time you want to be out and about in the world. We have a spot for you. We have a virtual stage put together just for you to come on here on VCTV and pitch us, investors, panelists, and guests, your product, along with our live audience. A huge opportunity to reach many people in just a few minutes. Please do reach out. We'd love to have you. Love to find the right episode for you that may work. And also a big thank you to Maria and to the entire LATOKEN team for making VCTV possible every single day on your screen, your device, anywhere in the world. It's a lot. We do a lot of heavy lifting to make sure this happens every day. And with that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, manufacturing, supply chain, logistics. What's happening, what's not happening, and where are these industries going? How is technology impacting them? And where is the capital going as well to fuel these industries as startups, companies, and growth companies alike are building within these? And with that, I'm going to welcome my co-host, but also my fireside panelist today. Louis, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. It's always enjoyable to come on here with you. I love it, and I think you guys are doing some great things. Just a quick snippet on me. I've been involved in the world of finance for over, quarter century to over 25 years for those that can't count, and been involved in everything from investment banking, private equity, doing deals, mergers and acquisitions. I'm a managing partner with FJ Partners and also the CEO of Mega, which is a American software and technology company. We're doing a lot of awesome things in artificial intelligence and, secure collaboration platforms and doing stuff to help change the world in some way. Like the topic today, manufacturing. We're going to dive into that. I'll let you lead. I have a lot of stuff to, I have some input here that may educate some of the viewers on this aspect. And I love the fact that it's just me and you, because I get to talk a little more.
Heck yeah, I love it too. This is great. This is exciting. And I know this is an area that's special to you. It's also an area of expertise that you have that we haven't yet had a chance to highlight. And from my background, this is something I know a little bit about as well, having played in the world of Internet of Things, hardware, consumer devices. Manufacturing for so many years, I think, was very misunderstood. And even from my own standpoint, just to share that is, we typically thought a product was manufactured, you bought it, and it was good. When you actually get on the other side of the table and you see, not just where regionally products are actually built, but then you go into the factory. You go see a factory for the first time. You see a tier 1 factory, so top of the line to, we'll call it a more entry level factory or established, older factory, and seeing the technology, even in a older, out of date manufacturer, just seeing what was put in place to create and build a product was advanced at its time. fast forward to some of these more innovative facilities as well, whether it's here in the US, it's in Latin America, it's in Europe, it's in Asia. I mean, these things are outstanding. In some cases, there's not a speck of dust on the floor. It's incredible to see how manufacturing facilities have really taken to innovation in so many different ways. And that supply, and in some cases not, which we'll get to. On the supply chain and logistics side, I mean, this is one of the biggest areas that people are focusing on, whether that's from the blockchain space, it's from the Internet of Things and just the general broader sense of connectivity. I mean, this is an area that people are looking at because the goods and services we buy have to get from point to point. And what most don't or may not realize, I should say, is how much is lost, right? When we have the food that we eat, for instance, just as an example, when it comes from the farm, from one country or state to the next, the amount of loss that happens in that transition just is accepted until recently. It's okay. It just happens, right? Millions upon billions of dollars just lost every year. There are many companies that are putting technology at work to solve for those pain points, to show where food is being tracked in real time or deliveries, right? And we take a step back to what we were working on, but then digitization hit a fast forward button as the pandemic kicked, and our entire logistics situation around the world and supply chain just froze and then transformed, right? We started looking at hyper localization when it comes to logistics. From supply chains, we looked at where are the cracks and where can we fill. So much has happened. And with that, I want to come to you first because I just rambled a bunch, but really to you, I mean, what are you seeing happening in these? And maybe let's break it down
Well,
if
we're going to
that's
break it
easier.
down. We're going to
All right,
break it
go
down
for
for
it.
sure, because and you touched on a lot of good points. We're gonna systematically deconstruct and reconstruct this so that people can understand. Let's in the United States, you're home, you're you're on Amazon, you order something, okay,
Mhm.
it comes to you. That's all that you know. All right. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the middle and before and so on and so forth. Manufacturing has been, in the industrial revolution here in the United States, this is when America was built. You had the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, you had the Fords. They forged this country, and it had to do with manufacturing. Ford, when he created the assembly line, he did all that stuff. It changed manufacturing, because before manufacturing, you'd have guys in the factory hammering away manually, and when they started adding automation, and I've seen these factories firsthand, because I've been involved in deals involving massive factories, 100, 200, a million square feet of manufacturing space. And it's amazing how it worked back then, even going into the 60s and 70s. Okay, the technology was not what it is today. You mentioned about manufacturing facilities being spotless. Okay, yeah, you have different types of manufacturers. Some manufacturing facilities aren't like that because you have a lot of oil, you got stuff going on. But even in automotive, it's
Mhm.
changing. If you go to Michigan, you go to Detroit, you go and you see, Ford and GM's facilities, and it's just interesting how that progressed. And there are other facilities, that are out there. And what's happening, they're transitioning, going from one model to another, whether it be water filtration devices that they have, the water treatment device they have. They used to be outside, really big, of the size, I mean, huge, huge, just to treat the water coming from the machinery. And now they've
Mhm.
reduced them to miniature stuff. And the technology, the robotics that are going in, it's people are afraid of what is going to happen with that. Robotics, okay, it's going to replace jobs. Well, yeah, it's going to replace menial labor, that tedious stuff, that guy that's screwing stuff in, hitting the lever, okay, and it's going to give them the opportunity to get skilled jobs, be trained. And for manufacturer, before you say anything, Kyle, for a manufacturer, what's going to happen is that when they do this, they start working with the municipalities. They start working with the boards, and they start working with them to for them to be incentivized to go and create these programs to teach these people how to do a thing. And this is
Mhm.
important for whether it be in the United States, whether it be in Africa, wherever it may be. You need government participation in the deal so that they give incentives. So if you give incentives, you're going to train people, and then, again, manufacturing the technology, you can't avoid it. You can't. Artificial intelligence, I speak about it all the time, is going to be a focal point in the manufacturing space. And again, this is one space. This
Mhm.
is creating and then manufacturing the product. Okay. And people, when you look at manufacturing companies, you see something that says made in the USA and made somewhere else. It's, yeah, you really don't know. You really don't know, because the thing in manufacturing is that you can take, and Apple does it too, oh man, I don't want to get Tim Cook pissed off, but anyway, to go when you go and you get the parts and you assemble in the United States, then it's made in the USA. It can be parts from anywhere in the world. And that, anyway, so that's one thing that's going on. The logistics, and you were talking about it, from port to port, point to point.
Mhm.
This is another thing that is going to it's going to evolve, and it's been evolving. I'm going to let you talk for a minute, because I'm going to keep rattling on about this, because this is important, because it impacts everyone when you're
It
dealing with
does.
technology. So I'll let you chime in, Kyle.
No, it does, and I think one of the things that that you touched on around automation and AI. So automation, we've talked about this on previous episodes around the Industrial 4.0, or IIoT, so industrial IoT, Internet of Things. And robotics and automation will play a very big role, but I think you're spot on. This is a piece of a bigger puzzle. There's certain things that it will play a part of. In robotics, this is not a new concept. I mean, I remember being very lucky as a young kid to go to a coding camp and learn how to program robotics. Program robots to pick up pieces and move them and drop them, and
How
screw them
cool
in.
is that? That
Oh my
is
gosh,
pretty
mind
cool.
blowing. It was the coolest thing in the world as a kid, and
See,
even
that's
still
that's
today.
when you was a kid. When I was a kid, I was just happy to make a balloon go from one end of the screen to the other. But that's
See, it's the small things. And
the
guess
small
what? Here we
things.
are, X amount of years later, not to date either of us, but those things have still not taken mass. So people,
Sure.
in terms of the worry, it's something again, I understand, but also to embrace and look at that. How does that technology from a business standpoint create efficiencies, which it's
Hmm.
going to? From an employee standpoint, it allows, like you said, the retooling, the reskilling of so many things that will, if anything, do better for us. And when you throw AI into this is where I think things get very exciting. Automation's a part of it.
Hmm.
The other side is just that data and just general understanding of how to better optimize your manufacturing process, how to make a more efficient or safer product.
Hmm.
Also, take that data and now you can automate some of your back office. So some of those things that you're going to do in the supply chain, some of those things you are going to do in the logistics process, you now have the ability and the data to do so,
It's
right?
all
When you look
connected.
at
It's all
all
connected.
connected.
Yep.
And right now, in most cases, again, most cases to our audience, it's actually not,
Hmm.
right? There's very few of those facilities or companies that are.
And the problem with that is that when you have manufacturing, and again, people have a misconception that, oh my God, robots are going to take over the world. Nah, not yet. Yeah, we're not in the Bruce Willis stage yet. Okay, but it's a progression, and it all depends on what we're going to do. You have self-driving cars. You have other things that are going on. I think it's in the base of somewhere in Tahiti or something, or in Korea, or in Japan, they built a little city that has autonomous everything. Your cars are driving by themselves. They created this little deal. It's a smart city, and they're doing that for the purpose of bringing it to market later on. They're doing it for the world, because you go and you have more electric vehicles, things like that. You kind of you reduce the carbon footprint. A lot of things transpire. That's why manufacturing, when the evolution of things,
Mhm.
okay, and when they start incorporating new technologies for the process, they start reducing their carbon footprint. Look at what happened during this pandemic when
Mhm.
ships couldn't go here and this couldn't happen. All of a sudden, there were dolphins in Venice. I mean, it was
Right.
amazing, but it shows you how, as humans, we screw things up badly. So this is an opportunity to reset and do things better. And there are a lot of smart people that are listening to the show that can do it. Okay, on the
Mhm.
manufacturing front, robotics, it plays a key because it kind of it eliminates these menial jobs. Artificial intelligence, you're talking about going and people think, all right, AI is going to the machines showing how the machines how to move. Yeah, that's one part of it, but the machines that you have machine learning, so the robots are learning. You're gathering this data, the data sets. You're gathering all this stuff and what's transpiring, you're creating learning tools that you can teach workers what to do using augmented reality. See, there are a lot of things that go on here. So you're able to do that, whether it be manufacturing, medicine, whatever it may be. You can help teach a doctor how to be a doctor utilizing augmented reality. So there are a lot of things that are going to cross over from different industries. We're focused on manufacturing here, but I think that when people start looking at the technology part of it and how it connects from one thing to another, they will understand that everything is connected.
Right.
Manufacturing just one industry in a bigger picture.
Right. All these technologies are starting to finally converge,
Yeah.
right, and impact multiple industries. And it's gonna be a little overwhelming because it's happening in some cases in multiple ways, right, in multiple industries.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I think we did see happen that was kind of teased. So if we go back to we'll say 5 years ago, just to be generous. So we'll say about 5 years ago, the idea of 3D printing and this, rapid prototyping, this rapid production was going to be everywhere. And here we are 5 years later, still not there. But with what happened in 2020 and just how we've looked at technology in such a digitized form, that's now becoming a possibility. That's now something we're really considering is going from these very big manufacturing cities and regions and locations to how do we get things more hyper localized in the case that we need or we want. So we need to if something happens, but we also and we've talked about so many things from climate change to the pandemic to things that are outside our control to things that are inside our control, right?
Hmm.
Just how we are moving around the world as humans. But then you go to those things that we do want, right? You want a product quicker, faster, sooner. Maybe you don't need it to last as long. You want it to be recyclable, but you just need it. Well, now if you bring 3D printing into that, so you've got your artificial intelligence that and data that's automating product and saying where it should and shouldn't be built or how it should be built. That's then sending data to local regions where the person ordered it and either sending it to the manufacturing facility or sending it to a 3D printer. And that 3D printer can then form, build what it needs to locally or more localized, maybe reduce the cost. Or on the business side, reduce or increase margins and reduce the costs. So the business is now more profitable. And in the end, the product may be more sustainable. And that's another, and AI, or excuse me, our AR, I apologize, I keep missing that up. AR then plays a role where you can see all of this.
Hmm. And
You,
the thing is, you mentioned the 3D printing. I remember I was in Brooklyn with at a teeny tiny company, and they had a 3D printer, and they were showing me this stuff, and it was cool. It made a little thing. I said, okay, I mean that's interesting. Went with the with the mayor and a few and a big the municipality, and we were at an event, and they were showcasing it. So were a few other groups that were showcasing it, and basically it was awesome technology. The problem is monetizing it. Okay, they were
yes.
making the aggregate, the resin, so expensive that you can have the 3D printer. It's just like having a DVD player when it first came out. Sure, you're spending $500. Right now, you can pick one up for $30, $25. You get one used for $10. It all, it's all relative. So if you make it more cost effective, you're going to have more people utilizing it, because people would, if they had the schematics, and that's another thing. You have a 3D printer, you need the schematics, you need a special program to do what you need to do. So now you have to buy the schematics for the printer to work and so on and so forth. So it's not that simple. And this is part of the problem where that's not readily available. So, but that's what the 3D printing. I just want to touch on before we continue on, because I think it's important, logistics. Okay. People look at logistics because we're talking about manufacturing logistics. Logistics, usually port to port. You have the port you're leaving, the port you're getting to. You have to have your bill of lading and all this stuff. All this stuff is typical stuff that's been done for the past few hundred years. Okay, that's how it works. You go to the ports. You have your cargo and everything there. So that's how it works. IBM has been very, very on top of this, and they're able to go and track an apple from the farm to the store. See, this is going to be the future, that you'll know where everything comes from. So this truth, and blockchain is involved in this, because now you're able to incorporate blockchain within logistics. So it's not just AI, but the data and the AI. This is the convergence: AI, blockchain, all this stuff. And then you have other things that are involved, that you can go right now. You can go online and you can see where every ship is everywhere in the world right now in real time. Amazing technology. Okay, so logistics, getting it cost effectively from one area to another is going to be a key thing. And that's why with Amazon, everybody, they know Amazon. Amazon is not selling your products, people. They're a logistics company, period, the end.
And what's funny about that, and we know, but if you don't, I mean, they're using this technology in everything they do, their entire supply chain, their entire value chain, I should say. Taking some of this data on your buying habits and your shipping habits. On the buying habits, they're creating new products, and they're creating internal products to then sell back to you: Amazon Basics, Essentials, etc., and new brands that they've created.
You like how they did that, right?
It's genius.
It is. I mean, it's a Bezos. He's a marketing machine. I love the guy.
He is. It's great. I mean, look, it's. I understand there's some frustrations with it. We'll put that aside for a minute. Let's look at the technology. I mean, just leveraging data to understand what your customers want, your customer needs, and how they want it. That changes the game for you. And those that are listening, this is what's important. Amazon, in this case, looked at what people were buying most.
Right.
And then why they were buying it the most, right? Timing, all those things. And they have the data. So they then took and used it to create a product just to fit that void and gave it to their customers. And now what they're looking at, because they bring product to you, is now they're looking at how you get product, where you get product, when you get product, how do you want product.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they're forcing other companies to step up and up their game, because look at Walmart. They're doing it now.
Yeah.
Target is starting to do it. Walmart has next day service, same day service. If you're dealing with things locally within a neighborhood, you're able to achieve this. And it's forcing these companies like Walmart. They've been around since dinosaurs have been around. Okay, and they are the it when it comes to big box retail. If you look at they didn't adapt to digital. They didn't adapt to e-commerce until later on. They had the opportunity to do so, and they dropped the ball. Okay, they did something that Blockbuster did a long time ago. When they were it's the stupidest thing, but they could have owned Netflix, and they didn't do it. And that was within the first year Netflix coming about, and they were shipping CDs. They said, "Nah, we don't need you." Well, I bet you a majority of the people listening to this show right now have no clue what Blockbuster is.
Right. Yep. And you're spot on. I mean, you look at the big box retail, and going back to logistics, right? On that factor is, there's no reason curbside pickup should be a new invention. There's no reason local delivery within an hour or whatever the radius and time should be a new concept. It's to your point, it's a forced function because as we looked at how fast do we get products from someone like Amazon, anywhere in the world, or Alibaba as well, and many others that focus on different areas, it's something we demand as consumers. And what's happened is now these big box retailers are looking at this saying, wait a second, we are the hyper local, we are the direct within a 5-minute radius to the consumer. Why are we not playing in this? Because if we don't exist. And we've seen the unfortunate parts of that with some retailers. But I believe localization from a logistics standpoint is going to be the next big thing,
Oh
where
yeah.
more and more data is going to be. I mean, why, right? Why airdrop everything? Why push things overseas when you can use data? You know, push that out to those that information out to local facilities,
Hmm.
whether that be manufacturing or just direct to ship from a
Hmm.
warehouse, and do it on a localized scale. Um,
That's part of the, when you're looking at companies. Yeah, I'm gonna give you an example. It's funny because I was just
please,
watching it recently. You ever see the movie Young Guns?
I have,
Okay,
yes.
there was a point in Young Guns that Emilio Estevez was speaking to his crew, Kiefer Sutherland and everyone else, and he said, the moment you stop challenging yourself, it's a moment you're going to get killed. The moment a business stops in being innovative, the moment they're done. IBM, prime example, they got very comfortable for a long time. The big machine, big blue, this is who they were. No one can touch them until who? Whoa, Steve Jobs, whoa, Bill Gates, boom. All of a sudden, they were pretty much out. They reinvented themselves, and I give it to them. Hewlett Packard as well. They reinvented themselves because you have to adapt. Yeah, if you don't adapt, if you don't innovate, you wind up disappearing into Pluto. And then the future is going to be there. And that's why Walmart had to. They had no choice but to adapt. Target, all the other big box retailers, they have to adapt. They have to embrace technology for them to do what they need to do. Look at Macy's. Macy's may not be around if they don't go and adapt. But then again, it may be too late for them. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
But look at Amazon too. They are they're the it when it comes to being adaptive, because they're like, okay, we don't, this doesn't work, we'll try this doesn't work, we'll try that. They keep investing until they get it right, because you get it wrong 100 times, you're going to get it right one time, and all of a sudden that's going to change the world. And look at what they're doing with the vans. They're going to make them totally electric within the next 5 years. Interesting.
Mhm.
But innovation breeds change.
It does. And I mean, we've even seen this in the manufacturing cities around the world. I mean, you look at China, for instance, right? China was the dominant manufacturing player. And I would say maybe the last decade, a little bit more, a little bit less, we've started to see a shift around that, right? Going back to manufacturing. We started to see more focus around manufacturing out of Mexico. We saw manufacturing out of greater Southeast Asia, from Vietnam and Thailand into to Taiwan, and even now India. You go
Hmm.
over to Europe. Europe is actually putting, back to your point about government, they're putting government initiatives in place to bring manufacturing back and actually make it cheaper and more localized to do manufacturing in Europe, in specific countries or in all countries as well. It's something that you have to do and change, or else, to your point, you don't exist. And even
That's why
shopping
the
malls,
Yeah, but
we're
that's why the
seeing that same.
governments need to adapt too, because manufacturing in Europe. I deal with companies in Spain and Germany and stuff like that have manufacturing plants. They try to export to the United States, but the tariffs are so ridiculous that it's costing them an additional 10, 20, 30% above their costs, which they're going to go and do. They hand it over to their customer. It's a lot of times they don't, so their margins get slimmer, and it makes it harder for them to do business. Meanwhile, they may have a better product, but we're all about pro USA, which I'm all on. I'm all on board with that. Just make it good. Don't come out with shoddy stuff and get it out there. Make it good, make us proud. Okay, but the world is getting smaller. Okay, so the manufacturing, companies in Europe and stuff like that, I think that it's gonna take some time for that to come up, because it's not like Southeast Asia, and Taiwan, Thailand, whatever. You get cheap labor over there. Mexico, you get cheap labor. In Europe they have siesta. You don't get the cheap labor, so it's a little different. The margins are going to be different.
Well, it's a different landscape, and I think that's
Yeah.
that's a great transition to the next piece of technology. You touched on AR, so augmented reality,
Mhm.
and one of the things that we haven't yet brought to light, but we have on other shows is connectivity. Right,
Mm.
as all these technologies are starting to come into play, what's starting to really make this possible is that connectivity piece. We're getting 5G, we're looking at 6G already, and really, just to clarify, we're looking at broadening the spectrum of connectivity, where we went from a billion to 2 billion to now, I think the latest stat was about 4.5, 4.6 billion people are now able to be connected in a way they never had been. When that
That's important.
connectivity is
That's
very
important.
important, that connectivity piece is in place, go back to hyper localization, go back to autonomous driving, go back to these manufacturing facilities. The game has completely changed.
See, unless
Everything is now lit up.
unless you've been to these third world countries, you don't see it. I've been. Okay,
Right.
I've lived over there. I spent time over there. 5G, very important.
Mhm.
Just so
Mhm.
people understand, right now, 4G, we're here. This is our road. 5G opens it up.
Mhm.
6G, who knows? Maybe our brains are going to explode. I don't know, but you're going to have the information flowing lightning speed. You're not going to have lag times. You're not going to have the little circle on your screen. You're not going to have all that. Everything's going to keep moving. Everything's going
Yeah.
to keep moving. And with that said, AR is going to play a part in things, because that connectivity, the
Mhm.
faster things are, the more things can work better. And I was speaking with someone about this, that there's a progression, okay, where you see it in movies. Okay,
Mhm.
let's talk about Iron Man. He had the hologram and everything else. That is possible. It does exist today. It's just the way to do it isn't there yet. Now with 5G, it is. You're going to see a lot of concerts, a lot of things transpiring utilizing holograms. Mark my words on it. Mark my
Yeah.
word on that one, because it's going to happen. Again, all this stuff just crosses over, and I just love that you transition to this, because AR is going to be a part of manufacturing. You know, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, even from a telepresence, and I would love to dive into that because
yeah, let's do it.
telepresence is a huge word that we've talked about in medical, we've seen in just general maintenance, but manufacturing. I mean, where do you see AR playing probably one of the biggest roles in these three industries? Is there
Well,
anywhere you're seeing it specifically?
Well, I think that AR is going to play a role in every industry,
Hmm.
AR and VR. Okay, we talked about VR on a few shows. VR, with avatars and things like that movie Ready Player One. I'm a movie guy, so
Hmm.
I like making reference to that, so it makes
I
it
love
easier
it.
for people to connect. Okay, but AR is going to be important, because if you can go and, again, manufacturing, if you can go take the data sets, put it all together, and create a platform where someone can learn. They can learn working on a car motor or something like that, or an airplane motor, whatever it is, working on something, jet engine, and doing it virtually without touching anything, without anything. They can make all the mistakes and they learn. Then all of a sudden, when it's in front of them, because it's exactly what's there, they know what to do. They do it at home, they do it wherever they're going to do it. So that's manufacturing. Now it can work for anything in manufacturing. You can learn, like on the medical field. You can learn how to dissect things, how to perform a surgery, because all of this is going to become important. Because, right, there's going to come a point where you're going to have doctors, let's say in the United States, that they'll be able to treat with the 5G and 6G. You guys got to keep this in mind. The connectivity. They're going to be able to treat someone in Timbuktu remotely
Hmm.
with machines, using
Hmm.
augmented reality and using the machines, and they're looking at it, and the machines are moving with them. And without the machine learning, you can't do it. You can't do it. So now we cross over to education, okay, where kids can utilize this to, and we talked about, you know, what with Corning and the glass house of the future and all that other stuff,
Mhm.
you know, this stuff is real. This is can really be done. Augmented reality in education is going to be key because now we're remote learning and people freaking out. This is not just a flavor of the month. This is a transitional period. It's a pivotal point in our world that people are beginning to realize that, hey, I don't have to live in New York City to make the money I'm making. I can live, have a better quality of life in middle America, or maybe in Europe, and do the same thing because I'm dealing with things remotely. It's just a time change, but I'm
Mhm.
dealing with things remotely. If you can do that, it's, you know, and then you're talking about students too. They may want to, you know, they may want to spend a few days because you don't want to be socially awkward. Spend a few days in
Right.
school. You're learning other than that. And I think, you know, China's been doing this for some time, you know, and I think that when you start doing that, the educational and educational spans everything, okay, and then you take that same AR and it can just go for thing for entertainment, you
Mhm.
know, where people just want to entertain themselves, you know, they use it on social media. They, you know, AR, people think that is, you know, when they go on a Snapchat or Instagram or something, they add all these things on there. That's augmented reality, people. That you're augmenting your video. Okay, so
Mhm.
it's AR. AR is in front of everyone, and they don't even realize it.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, you mentioned telepresence and kind of getting your hands on something without actually being there. I mean, this is what we've seen. We've already seen proven cases with on the medical side with spinal surgeries. This is a
Yes.
huge category, specifically around spinal
Hmm.
surgeries. This is a growing conversation where more and more spinal surgeries are actually being done through AR and in some cases telepresence. And switch over to VR. I mean, Facebook, I think yesterday or earlier this week, just announced this whole new workplace of the future in their eyes, where I mean, you're going to have an entire virtual desktop, and they're releasing a software platform that will give you all of that. This is
Hmm.
also what Magic Leap has talked about for many years. The point is that there is something there that we're going to have, and it's going to happen a lot sooner, I think, than we may be ready for. But to your point, we've been eased into this without knowing,
Right.
right? AR has played a role. I mean, even if you look at an iPhone, going back into the industrial side of things we were talking about, you've got a tape measure,
Hmm.
you've got a level, but you've got a tape measure that will give you point to point measurements through augmented reality on your phone.
Hmm.
These are small little things. And to the audience, why we're talking about this and why this is so important is you don't have to have. It's always good to dream big. I won't. I will be the last person to tell you otherwise. And same with this. But that being said, there's small little gaps and small little pieces that you can enter into a market and just dominate. I mean, it is just the smallest little problem. And
I'll give
AR
an
is opening up that
I'll
world.
give an example of that going back to the beginning of time. Okay, who invented the doorstop? You know, there was a need. Who invented the dump tack? There was a need. The stapler, the paper clip. There was a need for something so ridiculous,
Mhm.
but it made sense. I saw a video today, and it was pretty cool. This lady has her kids in a carriage, pushing the carriage, walking.
Mhm.
She flips aside. All of a sudden, the carriage turns into a bike. She's riding down the street with the kids on the carriage, and she's riding a bike. Innovation, innovation, and these are people thinking outside of the box of the
Mhm.
simple things that will change, that can change our lives. You know,
Well,
I thought the baby carriage thing was pretty cool, though.
that's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
just to touch back on our subjects around manufacturing, I breezed right over this. You know, manufacturing. We continue to talk about manufacturing in the sense of a factory, but manufacturing can actually go and be very broadly talked about. Right? It can
Hmm.
go from how to optimize building of a desk to building of a electronic component, but it doesn't have to be within a facility. It actually can be on site, right?
Hmm.
Where you are manufacturing or cutting, for instance, carpet, to manufacturing of lumber to the desks that we use. There's so many pieces of the manufacturing process we haven't even touched on that are completely open to anybody. So it goes from a facility all the way to, again, that localized spot where you can be in someone's home, you can be in someone's workplace, you can be wherever you need to be, to Lewis's point, where you don't need to be in one location anymore. And
Mhm.
now you can be manufacturing,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
one thing not to forget.
Yeah, and innovation and manufacturing is important. You look, we let's go back, 15 years. You had your flooring. You had some, your rubberized mats or linoleum or something. You had that on the floor. Now that you're using a composite to go create pretty much almost indestructible flooring that is better than wood. People think that, okay, I need wood floors. Oh my God, I need wood floors. That's going to be the thing. But it's all relative, because if you have something that looks nice, that's durable, you have something that's going to last. Take those wood floors. Come to me in a couple of years. Let me know when you have to redo them, and it's going to cost you like 10 grand to do that. Okay, with the other floors. But this is all that, innovation is someone coming up with the idea for something better. Okay, and
Yes.
it's because what has happened many moons ago may not have to still happen, and this is why we're in a constant change right now.
Constant change, and technology is it's just going to get faster,
Yeah.
and it's going to be overwhelming to begin with, but it's going to be very good. And for those who have been building in this industry, you've probably felt it. You felt that pressure of having to innovate, having to add new technology, or wanting to add new technology, but other things weren't catching up. Well, guess what? Welcome to the catch up, because it's here. But Lewis, to you, I want to, before we hit the lightning round here, we're having such a good conversation. Where are some opportunities people should be focusing on? AR is one of them for sure. Where else do you see areas people should be focusing on, whether it's manufacturing, supply chain, and or logistics? Where are
Well,
the opportunities?
I think, look, manufacturing, it is what it is. Whether you're
Mhm.
manufacturing a widget or you're manufacturing a vehicle, it all depends on what you're doing. But if for companies that are manufacturing, I would say incorporate technology.
Mhm.
Definitely look at you have to look at things smartly, because it's not just about making the stuff. It's how do you make it smarter? How do you make it better? How do you increase your margins? How do you reduce your liabilities? And how do you get more skilled labor? Okay, 60 years ago, even maybe 20 years ago, it could be 10 years ago still, but you have workers that are, that know how to do a thing over and over again, and they got their job. I get it. You don't you didn't have the opportunity to learn. Now these companies have the opportunity to teach them. Okay, and unfortunately, when you're talking about kids that are graduating high school, their opportunities have been dwindled tremendously. Even if you do 4 years of college, your opportunities are dwindled, because now you're competing with the MBAs of the world and everything else. So it's going to be hard for you to go grab that spot. So unless you have the skill set and you have the real world experience, and that's important. So
Mhm.
these manufacturing companies, they can actually go and do that. Whatever they're doing, they can get skilled labor, people that'll be with them, not for the moment, but for the long haul. If they do that, it's going to benefit them, especially if they're gathering the data to train them and making things safer, better. We're always talking about security online. Let's talk about security of products. If you're able to make things better, more secure, and to a millimeter of whatever, that this product is what it is because this is what the AI tells you, and this is what it is. So that's a good thing. And logistics, I think that logistics, you have a lot of different areas, from cargo ships to so on and so forth. I think that blockchain is going to be a big winner here, because it's going to eliminate the bill of lading, is going to eliminate the questions and wondering, where's my cargo, where's my stuff going, how did it get here, how did I get ripped off, why am I being charged this? If you have something that's immutable, irrefutable, and it's just there in front of you that you could access, showing where your stuff is. You can look at it on a map online, where your stuff is, how it's coming in, when it's going to arrive, so on and so forth. You can check the weather and do all this other stuff, and it puts you more in control. And you're going to have the logistics companies of the future that are going to be doing that. They're going to be the purveyors of technology for people, and you're going to have the shipping companies. They're going to wind up going digital as well. Technology is going to play a apart. How many ships now go out and you have one person on there? How do they do it? I don't know, but I know that technology is going to play. I wouldn't get on the ship. I saw a movie about somebody was stuck in the middle of the ocean. That doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
but, but, all this stuff, it's important. And I think companies that are, if they're looking to get into the space, use technology, create platforms in the logistics world. Do that. You can do it affordably and make a difference. Do something different. Okay. And logistics, it's not just from port to port. It can be from corner to corner. If you map it out in a way that is scalable, it has to be scalable. It can't be one dimensional. It has to be scalable. If you make it scalable, you'll have use of it. And this is what, Amazon's doing now. Everything is the data. We talk about it. We've been talking about the whole show, data. They're doing this so they can go and they can bring stuff quicker. FedEx right now is mostly a technology company because everything is about, point to point. Okay. And they're touting themselves as a technology company now. It's funny how things work out. Just like during the blockchain rage that an iced tea company became a blockchain company. And then I don't know what happened there. But
Right. Who knew?
who
Who
knew?
knew Ice-T would go on the blockchain? Who
I know
knew?
that
But it's
was
here.
hilarious, and people fell into that. But you have very real companies that are creating change, and it's not just for the big guys. The developers that are looking to make an impact, you can make an impact in this way too. And now with telemedicine as well, that's something else. That they can make an impact in. It's about creating the platforms and technology that will help people. If you're not doing that and you're looking at the money part of it, like, oh, how am I going to make money on this? You're done. You're dead in the water. If you're not going to go and do something to change the world, the money is the easy part that comes. Okay, you build it first. You build it, make it work, then everything happens.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And we're at time here. I want to wrap up. Any last piece of advice that you have for anyone looking to get into these spaces, and then where can everyone find you to continue the conversation online?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love this, Kyle. We're having this one-on-one. I haven't spoken to you this much ever on the
I
show.
know.
But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And Maria, set this whole thing up. So good for you. But yeah, for entrepreneurs that are getting into this space that are involved in technology, make things that are going to change how
Mhm.
we do things. Be fearless. And I say it all the time, be fearless. Don't think, oh my God, I'm going to go down this road and it's not going to work. If it doesn't work, hey, you go down another road. You'll find your path. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times, but he made that one success. We have light. Okay. So, and same thing with Tesla. You have to. People look at the successes. They don't look at the failures. They don't want to embrace the failures. Embrace the failures. You will succeed, but don't give up on it, and keep doing that. And if you're looking for investment, please do me a favor, find investors that will be your true partners, that'll get their hands dirty, that aren't sitting there throwing dollars at you. I hear this all the time from venture capitalists, that they'll throw the money at you and you have to make it work. No, how about you throw the money at me, you become my partner, you help me to make it work, and we can do it together. That's what it's about. Find investors like that and you'll be successful. And you see it all the time. Even recently with Snowflake. Okay, that company was done in a way that all the financiers, the people in the company, the CEO, everybody worked together and they made it work. And what happened? You had the biggest software company the biggest software IPO ever that happened yesterday. So it's possible, but just look to do something and again to try to change how we do stuff. And as far as people finding out a little bit about me, yeah, you can go to you can go to fgapartners.com. It's a private equity firm. You can also see what we're doing in technology. You can go to megahoot.com, check it out, and above all, when you have the guest on VCTV and you're hearing stuff, especially from the investors, don't jump on top of them. Oh, I need money. No, learn from them, because if they believe in you, you may have a partner. And so you have to do things a little smarter, and show that it's not only you have skin in the game, but you're doing something to change how we do things in the world. And that's my view on it. And I think that if more entrepreneurs did that, we'll have more successes. But just don't run and give your company up to the first suitor that comes around. If you feel like you can do more, but don't think that you have something so good that it's you're going to find someone else. But just be smart about it. That's what I'm saying. Just be smart.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And Louis, thank you so much for joining us today. And the fireside chat has been amazing. And I wish we
This
can
is
do more of
great.
these and look forward to it
Yeah.
as well. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We've covered a lot today, and do not worry, we're actually going to be back together tomorrow to go deeper on this subject around robotics and around automation in particular. So stay tuned to get a little layer deeper with us and a few more guests as well. But if you like what you heard today, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, do reach out. As Louis said, make sure you add context, but also build that relationship, learn, continue to ask questions. It's always acceptable to ask questions. Don't hold yourself back, whether you're in a pitching meeting or in a LinkedIn conversation. We're both available 24/7, 365 online. Be happy to continue the conversation with you as well. And a big thank you not only to Louis, but also to Maria and to the entire LA Token team for making today possible here on VCTV. With that being said, I'm Kyle Lecott, your host. You can find both of us online 24/7, 365 on all social medias as well. Make sure to check out FGA Partners as well. And everybody, have a great day.